Nigel Mansell, there he goes! Hi folks, welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me. Hope you'll forgive my intro there because it's about 10 or 11 days since we lost the great Murray Walker, the motor racing commentator who used to work for the BBC, commentating on Formula 1 and other motorsports. He did all sorts of motorbikes, rallycross, you name it, he would commentate on it, including the MotoGP and all sorts of other stuff. But he was a really great broadcaster. He was very gifted. He could talk and talk and talk. I mean, I can talk, but gosh, he could go for hours. He just non-stop almost, you know. I think this is the reason that the BBC felt that perhaps he was a bit too much at times, and that this is what they did when they brought in James Hunt in late 79, I think it was, and 1980 onwards. Hunt had retired from Formula 1 after obviously being world champion, and then had a very unsuccessful couple of years just after that, and he just quit. So he was available, and they said, oh great, we'll put him in with Murray. Well, Murray was not very keen on this because he regarded Hunt as a bit of a upper crust, bit of a hooray Henry, and didn't think he really had what it took or had the knowledge, you know. And of course he was wrong, as it turned out, because Hunt actually was, he was a very no-nonsense sort of character who told it like it was and could be quite abrupt and even abrasive at times. And it was something that Murray wasn't too happy about. He felt that he was having his space invaded, cramping his style. From the BBC, I think it was Jim Reside who was their producer at the time, and he insisted they had one microphone and they used to have to fight for the microphone and tug it from each other, and this was considered better than having them talking over each other, which kind of happened at the beginning. Anyway, as we all know, it was a brilliant partnership between them, and sadly it was only broken up when Hunt died at the very young age of 45 in 1993. And obviously Murray carried on then with Martin Brundle, which was actually quite a successful partnership, and Brundle was like a detuned James Hunt, a bit more a calm version. But Murray was fantastic, wasn't he? I mean, everybody laughs about the mistakes he made and all this sort of, it's like a byword for getting things wrong, but the reality is that he commentated such a volume of commentary. Most of what he said was absolutely spot on, it really was, and he injected such enjoyment, enthusiasm and interest into the sport, especially Formula 1. And you know, when it was the most dire, boring race, and Monaco was often the case, it always reminded me, I think of Murray at Monaco, because it would be a really crap race, you know, not entertaining. And he could make it sound like the sky was falling in. It was like, oh my god, such as turbo has just exploded, you know. And it was such an over-the-top delivery, but so filled with genuine warmth and enthusiasm. And everybody, you know, that you hear these tributes to Murray, nobody has a bad word to say about him. I mean, he lived to 97, he lived more than double the life of James Hunt. It's quite incredible. And he was a wonderful guy, and everybody says what a warm character he was. The days when I used to watch it, you know, the heroes were Mansell and Piquet and Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, and he really made that seem like the most exciting thing to watch I've ever seen as a live sport. You know, I mean, the Olympics, you know, it doesn't hold a candle to that era of motor racing, with him commentating and Murray Walker, you know, giving all his feedback and James Hunt interrupting him. Brilliant times, and it's not the same anymore, I've got to be honest. Excuse me. So I just want to say, rest in peace Murray Walker, because you were absolutely brilliant, and you made it unique, and I don't think there's been anybody quite like him since, and I'm sure there never will be again. I think he was a unique character, and he just made the thing seem like it was on fire. It was just intoxicating. Anyway, today we're going to talk about that very era, of course. I started off with a quote from Murray, which is the one he commented on with the Mansell and his Williams. Nigel Mansell, of course, was big buddies with Murray Walker, and Murray was a big supporter of Nigel. And it was great times, especially in 1992, which this car is from. We're coming up to the 30th anniversary of this car next year, winning the World Championship in dominant style. You know, this was brought out to combat the McLaren Hondas and really beat them at their own game. Had a very advanced suspension system with active suspension, and yeah, they were playing around with the ABS and all sorts of things. And in Mansell's hands, rather than Patrase's, There's a very interesting point I should just mention about this car. A quote I always remember from Patrick Head, Frank Williams' chief engineer and co-director, head of the technical side of the team. And they did some data analysis at Silverstone at the British Grand Prix in '92, and they said that Mansell was, forgive me if I misquote this, but I think I'm right in saying that Mansell was something like 10 to 15%, getting 10 to 15% more downforce in the corners than Patrese in the same car, identical car. And they were trying to analyse why. There was nothing to do with the car itself, it was something to do with the way it was being driven. They couldn't quite get to the bottom of it. They realised that what it was is that Nigel Mansell would lift off going into the corner, and then in less than a second, the corner's like cops, which is almost flat out, he would lift and then apply full throttle again, which would give an increased back pressure from the exhaust through the back of the diffuser on the FW14B. Patrese would lift off and then wait until he was past the apex before gently reapplying the throttle. But Mansell would kind of lift off on entry and then slam down, and the back of the car would hunker down, and it gave him more downforce, and this is why his cornering speeds were higher. It's one of the key reasons, allegedly, that Nigel Mansell was so successful in these cars, was that he developed this style of generating a lot of extra downforce by absolutely using the throttle to generate extra grip. Sounds all very dangerous to me, but anyway, let's get into the kit and see what we think. So, Fujimi's 1/20th scale kit, 1992 Williams FW14B. Doesn't say a lot on the outside, so we'll get straight into it and I'll bring you in. Now, of course, this is a very iconic car. Mansell, the Canon sponsored Renault engine, a Renault V10 engine developing, around, I don't know, 1100 horsepower, something like that, a lot of power. Let's have a look what we got inside. So, I like the fact that Fujimi do wrap, unlike many manufacturers, they wrap all their screws separately. Good. Yes, there's a lot of screws here. There it is. Lots of screws, tyres, you name it. Right. What have we got? So, I think we'll start with the destructions and the decals, and we'll take it from there. Now, decals. They look very nice, but a word of warning. I'm about to speak from experience of Fujimi decals. This should carry a government health warning. Fujimi decals, they print them very nicely. This is like Tamiya in a way. They print them beautifully, they get the colours right, they always look superb, but they don't stick well, and they don't adhere very well at all, and they have a habit of lifting. You need to use, setting solutions and Microsol or Tamiya Mark Fit Strong and things like that. In the case of this particular model, I think that the way that they've actually intended, they intended to paint the blue and the yellow on top of the white, which will work. With the Brabham fan car, they had a lot of deckled areas, and on that, it was just not working. They were expecting decals to go around complex curves, round corners. No, and their decals are not up to it. So, I would say be aware. There's a good chance you might want to get aftermarket. Now, they have got some masks in here. This is the masks for the painting I just alluded to. So it's the areas where you're going to spray blue or yellow. That's great. I like that idea. I must say that's a plus for them. But I'm not sure. I think in fairness, this particular kit you might get away with it, because I think that they are small decals. They're not being asked to do silly things. I think that maybe Fujimi have learned the lesson from the fan car and those other earlier ones they did, which didn't work so well. So we'll let them off on that, I think. But if you want to go and get yourself some aftermarket, it's probably not a bad plan, really. So, we'll zoom you in. Sorry, I'm talking away about the decals, didn't really show them that well today. Let's zoom them in so you can see them properly. So you've got the choice of red 5 Nigel Mansell, or number 6 Riccardo Patrese. And we've got, have we actually got the names on here? No. Oh yes we have, here they are. So small it's hard to spot it. There we go, on the left there, just above the little elf logos here. It's got Mansell, Patrese with their respective Union flag or the Italian tricolour. And you've got the Labatt's beer sponsorship, the Renault decals, Canon, Goodyear, all the goodies you'd expect on a Williams Renault. So let's have a look at these instructions. Fujimi's instructions I do find a little bit challenging at times, mainly because it's not got a lot of English on it, for starters. And it gives lots of indications and there's no translation, which is blooming unhelpful, frankly. Anyway, I think what it's basically saying is this is a decal and this is painted, so if it's a big area that's yellow or blue, it's been painted and the decals go on top. So it shows you the layout there, where all the decals are supposed to go, how you position them on the rear wing at the bottom here, and also how you position them on some of the side panel areas as well. Not sure if there's there's no carbon, I don't think, so I'm not sure what it's saying here, but just the decal guide really. Then it shows the sprue tree, and we start off typically with engine and gearbox. Then you build in your Renault V10 engine here, and your lower suspension wishbones. Then we've got into the exhausts and the cam covers for the Renault V10. Exhausts going in plus some of the plumbing for the cooling system. Then you've got your floor, and there's an area there which is painted silver, which is the heat resistant. The real car, I think it's got actually adhesive foil on it. Then you plant all this into the floor of the car, and then you're building up excuse me, some of the detail around the engine gearbox with the hydraulic actuators for the gearbox that can be seen here. And you've got little side fences of bodywork at the back, and then you've got your upper wishbones and push rod suspension. This is the active suspension that I spoke about, all very electronically controlled and very clever. It's enabled the car to have a very even ride height at all times. Then we've got steering wheel and the instrumentation, and you're building up your cockpit area with your seat going in, and then you bring the two sides of the cockpit monocoque together. It might be worth getting yourself some carbon fibre decal for this, because I don't think they provide any, and I think it would look quite nice with that. Then we've got your electronic control systems here, Magneti Marelli. You've got your front suspension shocker system, which is this bit here. There's quite a bit of painting to do to highlight it all here. And again, you've got the suspension control and monitoring systems, electronic control box module. Here's these very impressive push rod stroke pull rod suspension arms. You've got your little bit of windscreen glass, tiny sliver of it there, and then we've got the top of the bodywork going on, and Nigel Mansell or Riccardo Patrese headrest. Then we're into your brakes and your brake ducts. There's no photo etch in this kit again. It would have benefited from that, but then never mind. Yeah, I wonder if there's an upgrade kit like there is for the Porsche 917, because that might be worth looking into. So you're building up your ducts, putting it onto the discs and the hubs. Then you're building up your steering rack and your front suspension, putting the final touches to the front bulkhead. Then we're into the radiators, and then you've got these the monocoque side pods, air intakes into the radiators, which have a lot of control modules on them. As you can see, there's a lot of decals and highlighting work to do there. Radiator ducts. So then you've got basically an engine and floor that's got to be brought together with this monocoque in which the driver sits, complete with the radiators at the back. And then you've got an airbox going on top of your Renault V10. A little bit of side bodywork at the back, open or closed depending on which race you're at. Again, it's all in Japanese, which is not very helpful, telling you which version to do. It's no clue for the English speakers there, or any other speakers for that matter. Anyway, then you're building up your nose and your front wing and your rear wing. And the front wing's quite it's quite detailed and intricate, to be honest. That looks quite interesting, doesn't it? And you've got your little end plates, and they have these aerodynamic vanes that go underneath and around the front wheels, which duct air away from the centre of the car, moderating the flow, I think they call it. And then finally you bring all that together, the nose and the front wing, and you pull in your rear wing and your main bodywork cowling goes on top, and you finish off with your Goodyear tyres and your wheels. Build them up and you lock those in place with what looks like I don't know if it's a polycap type system or if it's a screw or bolt. We'll see later. Looks good, looks very good. Let's have a look at the actual parts then. What have we got? Now then, we have got one of those, this is bags now that are stapled, which I really hate. So please bear with me while I get the knife out and cut the bags open. I'll tell you what, it might be better to actually try and remove the staple. It might take a moment or two to do it, but I think it'd be better for the bags if I just remove them. So starting off with the front wing. Very nice. Here we go. Yep, front wing. It's got these like it's got like a gurney flap at the back of the wing. I don't know why they moulded this in white though. It would be better if it had been black, because it is black. But anyway, see, it's got the gurney flap, the raised piece at the back here, and also here, which gives a little bit of extra downforce. And this is an Adrian Newey designed car, of course, an all-conquering mighty machine. This is the element for the middle of the rear wings. That's more understandable that was in white, but I'm not sure why they didn't mould the front one in black. However, we move on. Then we have got our tyres here. Trying to get the staple there. In fairness, it seems easier to remove these than the Tamiya kit. Their staples are really difficult to get out. He says. There we go. Now then. Okay, you may recall that I recently did the review of the new McLaren MP4 2C. I thought their tyres were a bit nicer than this, if I'm honest. There's not much, these are a bit featureless. They had a lot of contour and detail on the moulding that was transferred from the real one. These look a bit blander. Whether it's the actual tyre, these are Goodyear supposedly. Whether that's the scale tyre, I don't know, but we'll have a look. Now we have got the wheels. Which are in black, which is the right colour. So have a little look, see? They look nice, they look very scale-like, and I sort of recognise the design as Speedline, I think, weren't they? I think they used Speedline wheels. It's very nice. Yep. Those are very good. No complaints there. Got to say as well that this kit, in common with a lot of them now, it doesn't seem to have any flash on it at all. Nothing that I can see. It seems pretty free of it. But we shall see. Next one is the rear wing. There we get that staple out again. Sorry about this. It's been a bit of a swine. There we go. Now that is really nice. Oh yes, that's really cool. Oh, that's very, very nicely done, that. Yeah, it's almost like a slide moulded design. It's good that they made it in one piece, because when you get these kits, a lot of the ones like Tamiya, where you have to build it up, it's really hard to keep, when they're very scale-like and very thin, it's very hard to keep it true and the angles right. It's very difficult. So that actually is a good idea, to give you a true and solid rear wing, the fact that they've moulded it as one piece. Now remember that bit we just saw, the little side centre element, that goes down in the middle, at the top. Top wing element. And then we have a zip out so you don't get too bored while I fight the staples. Bit of a challenge getting into these, to be honest. There we go. Right. Oh, okay. Oh, now then. We seem to have got a second front wing piece. That's odd. Why have we got two of those? Is it different? Is it actually different, or is it identical? Looks identical to me. I seem to have got two front wings. No, it's a different version. It is a different version because it hasn't got the gurney flap. Whereas the one I just showed, the gurney flap runs right around. On this one, the gurney flap section is only at the back. So, in other words, I think this is high downforce like Monaco or Hungaroring, and this is more Silverstone, a bit lower drag, high speed circuits, maybe Hockenheim and Monza. That's probably the one that they're going to have on that. So you've got, it's good that they've got a different version. You can just about make it out. I'll zoom it in. The gurney flap is very small and short just at the back. It doesn't run around the circumference of the semicircular part. It's just here only at the back. That's cool. Then we've got these front wing end plates, and then these are the under here. This is these flow modifiers I talked about that go underneath the front wheels and make the aero forces and air ducts it away around the side pod instead of going underneath the car. And then we've got some more wing elements there for the rear wing. Very nice, very good sprue. I was quite impressed that that's a different. I thought it was just a duplicate part, but it isn't. It's a different part. That's very good. Then we've got, I won't open this because there's not much point, but it's tiny, this tiny little windscreen. Can you see that? There's almost nothing there, it's that tiny. It's just a sliver. So that's just to keep, it's really not a windscreen, it's just more of a flow, aerodynamic flow modifier at the front. So then we have got the main cowling for the bodywork. And that's really nice. Yeah, can't see anything wrong with that. Very, very good. Yep, looks nice. Very sharp as well, isn't it? Look at that, how fine the moulding is there. Fabulous. Okay, just might put it in the other way, that'll be easier. Alright. Try to mix these up and show you the same thing twice. But we'll know because we haven't opened them. If there's a staple still in it, then you haven't seen it. Right. So, now we've got all the suspension members. One sprue that seems to have all of those wishbones, and it's got the steering rack as well here at the end. It's nicely moulded. A bit of flash there, a little bit of bits hanging off, but it is actually very clean. Here you can see these hydraulic actuators I spoke of. Sits on top of the gearbox. Just here, see that? This controls the system, that controls the ride height, and here you've got these hydraulic actuators on the actual suspension arm itself, like a pull rod. Or is it a push rod? I always get confused. It's complicated stuff. That's that one. Then we've got some silvery parts, which looks quite glamorous, doesn't it? Let's have a look at that. Look, now this is, I'm never very keen on these sort of chromed parts, if I'm honest. It's kind of a dull chrome effect. It's not too bad because it is dull, it actually works better, I think. But it's not too bad. And we've got the exhaust as well in a chrome finish, which I don't think they were. I don't think they were that colour at all, so I would take that with a pinch of salt. And then we have got what looks like the floor, the chassis, with the diffuser, which is quite interesting. Okay. Oh yes, look at that. You can see the diffuser here, some detail. See all the elements of the diffuser. That's very nice, isn't it? Oh, it's moulded. You can see this is a downforce generating area at the back. Looks really good. You've got your steering wheel here, Then you get your brake calipers, your brake discs, instrumentation of the cockpit, the top of the chassis where the suspension is, or rather the modules are for the suspension, and then you've got your wheel hubs. Now it's interesting, you know, we're comparing this, aren't we, really, with that new kit that we looked at recently, the McLaren, and I have to say that the accuracy here is just as good, except the finishing isn't as good. It just looks like plastic, whereas on the new they actually sort of had a granular, like, carbon fibre grain to it, just like the real thing. This just looks like plastic, so not a major issue on the underside, but it's not quite as good, is it, as what we experienced with the new. But it's nice, and I like the way that it's got some really nice detail there. How the aerodynamics works, you can clearly see it, can't you? The diffuser, quite an important part of this car. Adrian Newey is always very good in that area. Just 2 more sprues to go. A white one and a black one. So I'll do the white one first, I think. Right. Here we have the nose. Here. Some very yes, there's some rather nasty big sprue attachment points there. Look at that. That's not very nice, is it? Really? That's gonna, you cut that off, that's gonna leave a real scar. It's gonna need a bit of work. That is not well done. So I think Fujimi could have done that much better. Why didn't he attach it here at the end? Or slide meld it, or they don't even need to slide meld it, do they? It's just a case of being careful. I mean, that's in a better position on this one. But to put it either side of the nose, on both sides like that, with such a thick attachment point, that is a bit crazy. Not impressed with that. Just a hint of flash, very, very gentle hint. It's nicely formed, you know, we've got the side, the monocoque here, in which Mansell or Patrese sit. And got various sort of side fences at the rear here for the back of the bodywork. It's all good. Just annoyed about that nose. I think that's a bit silly what they've done there. And then last but not least, we have got the engine, I think it is, and the gearbox, which is the heart of this car and very much part of its success. Let's have a look. There we go. Now this is nice. This is nice. I like the way this has been moulded. Yeah, the attachment points here are far more sensible in terms of their positioning, aren't they? Than we just saw with that nose section. That was crazy. Look at this. This is the top of the engine where the trumpets are, the intake trumpets. That's very, very nice. Yeah, that's been beautifully formed. Got the driver's seat here. Get bulky old Nigel in there if you can. And then you've got the end of the engine here. Look at this, you can see all the drive belts and the pulleys and sprockets. That looks really good. And you've got your cylinder head covers here. And you've got the side of the monocoque here, which has all these little control units, ECM pods, etc. You can see all the connector points along the top there as well. So there we have it. There we have it. It's interesting. This is not a new kit. I'm not sure the year it was built out. Let's just have a quick look, see if it gives us any clues. Probably won't. 2016 actually, March 2016, so it's fairly recent. It's more recent than I thought. I do like it. There's one or two things that annoy me. I think they could have done a better job with the way that they've represented the carbon fibre, and we saw that in the new kit, which was much more finely moulded, crisp, to give that finish that looks so authentic. This is great for shape and everything. It's just a bit. It's just that final extra mile they didn't really go, I don't think. They could have perhaps, don't know, made a tad more effort perhaps. Marks out of 10, 8, 8.5. I'm a bit nervous about the decals obviously because I've had bad experiences with our friends at Fujimi before. I think it'll probably be okay though, as I said, because I think that they've learned and they're telling you to paint it instead of trying to cover it with a great big decal. So I think you just got to do what they're saying, paint it blue areas and yellow areas, put your decals on top, which are quite small. I think that'll be alright. A little bit of clean up needed here and there, especially on that nose section. That's the worst part of the kit actually, I think. And the tyres, again, they didn't make a lot of effort with the finishing or trying to get the authenticity of the shape or the detail, the pattern, you know, the way it's moulded. It's just a plain black rubber tyre. So I think 8.5 out of 10 is probably fair, probably generous actually, but I think if you do a good job of this, it'll look really nice. You know. Who doesn't like the Williams FW14, such an iconic car, and you know, it actually changed motorsport forever because they then refined it for the following year and everybody decided they had to ban it really. Not specifically that car, but they changed the rules, didn't they? So there was no more ABS, no more active suspension, everything had to be passive, and that heralded in an era where there was some nasty accidents, of course, including the loss of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger amongst others. Carl Wendlinger got hurt and all sorts, so it wasn't a step forward. This was really the pinnacle. Certainly Nigel Mansell enjoyed driving it, and he won the world title in August, which is really early. Yeah, very, very dominant car, superior, and Mansell used it to full effect. And how we missed the days of Murray Walker commentating on those races, you know, there Nigel Mansell, there he goes, and Ayrton Senna is floundering in his wake, and etc, etc. I don't do a good impression, but I can remember his voice, you know, like it was yesterday, and I think we're going to miss Murray, aren't we? Anyway, there we go. So, thanks for the memories, Murray Walker, thanks for the memories. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I say 8.5 out of 10 is what I'll probably come out at. Hope you give me 10 out of 10 and give us a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so, and if you have already done so, ring the notification bell, and that will get you a heads up on every video when it comes up available, and if it's a premiere you'll get a heads up before it actually comes live, and enable you to miss nothing. That's it for now. Hopefully in the near future we might have some other kits coming along this summer. Not sure when we're going to see the next one, but fingers crossed that you're all staying safe, and until the next time I'd just like to wish you all good health, and thanks for joining me. Take care of yourselves. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.